Okay, so good day everyone. Our topic for today is about HTML forms. So before we get started on the subject of forms, there are something which needs to be made perfectly clear. It is simply this. Uh, I cannot teach you how to create completely functional forms. Why not? Because there is a lot more to a form than the HTML tags. In fact, the HTML form is at most half the story. The other half is a program which resides on the web server itself. This program is written in the language such as Perl, C, C++, TCL, Apple Script, or another common gateway interface language. So HTML forms are required. So when you want to collect some data from the site visitor, for example, during user registration, you would like to collect information such as name, email address, credit card, and others. So as I mentioned earlier, a form will take input from the site visitor and then will post it to a back-end application such as CGI, ASP script, or PHP script, and others. The back-end application will perform required processing on the past data based on defined business logic inside the application. So anyway, the role of this CGI program is to accept the data which the user inputs and then do something with it. So what does it do? That depends on what the program has been written to do. It could email the data to someone or add an entry to a database or write out a text file or create a customized display or just about anything else you can think of. So a very common use for HTML form is creating a feedback form, as I mentioned, or other user response form. Usually the feedback from the user is emailed to somebody. So how does this work? Here is an example. So please realize that technically this is not the way things actually look, but it close enough for our purpose. So let's say we have a form with three inputs: name, rank, and serial numbers. The input are labeled name, rank, and SN respectively. The user entries the data Eric for the name, very low for rank, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 for the serial number. The data sent to the CGI program would look something like this. So the program would do something with each piece of data. So for those of you who are familiar with programming languages, you recognize what's going on here. The labels are variable names and the inputted data are the values of the variables. So the boxes are then all loaded onto a track. So which holds them off to the CGI program. The program then loads the content of each box and does something with what it finds. So what it does depends on how it's been programmed. An overly simple explanation perhaps, but conceptually accurate. So, form tag. You've probably been wondering how the browser knows where a form begins and ends. For that matter, how does the browser know where to send the data and use of course to the CGI program? But where is that program located? So the data had been sent to a specific location. So this is accomplished by using the form tag. And this tag has two attributes, which must be used if the form is to have any prayer of working correctly. So the attributes are method and action. So here's what an empty form would look like. So form method, post action, then CGI dustbin, program 1, then the closing tag form. The methods to be used to upload data. The most frequently used are get and post methods. Okay? So again, the attribute has two possible values, get and post. So if you want the data to go from the browser to the CGI program, then use the method post. If not even sure what get does, to be honest, but as soon as figure out, we'll explain it briefly here. For the action, back-end script ready to process your past data. Okay? Attribute contains the URL of the CGI program which processes the data sent by the browser. So in any tag which is allowed inside of the body container is allowed inside a form. Headings, paragraphs, lists, tables, images, links, anything and everything goes. In addition, there are certain tags which are allowed to exist inside a form and nowhere else. A form is an area that can contain form elements. So form elements are elements that allows the user to enter information like text fields, text area fields, drop-down menus, radio buttons, checkbox, and others. In a form is defined with the form tag. So a form is defined with the form tag as what we have here. So input objects. So the most used form tag is the input tag. So the type of and input is specified with the type attribute. The most commonly used input types are explained as explained later. Okay. So text field. Text field are used when you want the user to type letters, numbers, and others in a form. So as what we have here. So I will show you the sample. So assuming that we're going to run this one. Of course, using Notepad++. So example, file new, then display. So I just want to close some of my files. Example, file, save as. Then we save as web1f.htm. So save as all types, then save. So search, find and replace because we copy paste the from Microsoft Word. So sometimes the double quotation was not readable. So you just simply copy and replace. So then close. So we're going to our save file. So we have one form. Double click. So as you can see here, this will be the output. You are allowed to input, for example, Marmelo. Then just tab, Abante. Okay, this will be the sample or the basic form. As you can see here, the tag is form. For us to display text, just simply first a name, then input type text because we want to input text as text field. We want to input alphanumeric, either a combination of letter, characters, and so on. Then the first name, last name, then our variable is last name here. Another thing, another example is for radio buttons. Okay, radio buttons are used when you want the user to select one of the limited number of choices. So, for example, based on the given example for gender. Okay, just simply copy paste. When we put this one at the bottom, again search, replace again, then close. So file save. Then rerun. As you can see here, first name, then for example, Marmelo. So Abante. When we say option, you just only choose one. So if I choose a male, you are not allowed to choose female. So one at a time. When you say option, radio button. Okay? So how about checkbox? So for example, checkbox. Okay, we just enter. So same as what we did a while ago. We just replace the double quotation. Okay, then close. So we have a first name here, last name. We used it already, the radio buttons. This time, checkbox. So since we have an additional code, file save, then F5, refresh, or just enter. So as you can see here, by this time, we are allowed to click two or more. Okay? So this is the one way on how we'll be able to differentiate the use of our radio buttons and our checkboxes. There are different HTML form controls. So there are different types of form controls that you can use to collect data using HTML form. So we have text input controls, checkboxes controls, radio box controls, select box controls, file select boxes, hidden controls, clickable buttons, and submit and reset button. The form actions attribute in the submit button. When the user clicks on the submit button, the content of the form is sent to another file. The form's action attribute defines the name of the file to send the content to. So the file defined in the action attribute usually does something with the received input. So as what we have here, we have action, then we have method, the get, as I mentioned earlier, get in post, no? So this time we're using action attribute and submit button. So copy paste. Okay, so for example, again, find and replace, file save, then F5. So as you can see here, you are now allowed to input, for example, username and password, for example, no? So username doc Melo. So once we click this submit, automatically send to a CGI. But since we don't have database or text file at present, so this is one way on how we'll be able to make a submit button. Okay? So text area. Defines a text area, a multi-line text input control. A user can write text in the text area. In the text area, you can write an unlimited number of characters. The default font in the text area is fixed pitch. So for example, this will be the source. Text area rows is equal to 2. Columns 20. The cat was playing in the garden. Suddenly a dog shown up. Then closing tag area. So what will be the output? So this one. So you are allowed to do this one. Okay, so required attributes. But before I forgot, so DTD indicates with in which DTD the attribute is allowed. So S is strict, T is transitional, and F for frame set. So columns as what we discussed in our frames, in rows, or number as a value. Then specify the number of columns visible in the text area. Specify the number of rows visible in the STF. Okay? So select object. So the select elements creates a drop-down list. So use this tag in the form element to accept the user input. Okay, so optional attributes. So we have disabled, multiple, name, and size. So disabled, when set it disabled the drop-down list. Multiple, when set it specified the multiple item can be selected at a time. The name defines a unique name for the drop-down list, and size defines the number of visible items in the drop-down list. Okay, so I will show you an example or different example of a form. So for example, this one. So as you can see here, we are now using a combination of different applications. So a while ago, you're using different attributes, right? So, but we consider, of course, the name, the rows, the columns, that for the attributes and descriptions, we have type, name, value, and check. Okay, so for attributes and the ratio button, we have type, name, value, and check at the same time. So I will give you an example as what we have here. Okay, so for us to find out the, the output, so just double click. So as you can see here. So this time you are allowed to type, for example, Marmelo. Phone number, for example, 0917, so on. Email address, docmelo. So using the option, of course, which taxi do you require? For example, car. So I was not allowed to click more than one. So for example, car. Extra, for example, baby seat, for example. But you are allowed actually to choose the three. Okay, so by this time, baby seat for a while. Stock tip. Then, as what we have here, no? Instead of typing, we are allowed to use this one. So as you can see here, based on our pick up table. So instead of typing the date, the hour, and so on, we are allowed to call the date time local and pick up time as our name. So these tags or these codes displays an input like this. Okay? So for example, you just click this one, automatically display the date. For example, 14 and the time. For example, 11 p.m. Okay? Then that's it, automatically display here. So pick up place. For example, St. Felicity College. So drop place, for example, airport. Then special instruction, please try to be here 3 hours before the 3 hours early. Okay, then submit booking. So, but since we don't have a database at present, even we submitted, we were not able to see the database or the output. Okay, but later on, we have text file and database using MySQL, or even Microsoft Access actually will do. Okay, so another example. So, Web 9. So this time we have some CSS, the style. Okay, so this will be the form method, of course, the email, the phone number, the radio button. A while ago, this pure HTML. By this time, Web 9, same output by using CSS or cascading style. So as you can see here, we are able to design a more sophisticated or impressive web page using cascading style sheet or CSS. So same output actually, but another format. Okay? So how about this one? Same using CSS. So by this time, a while ago we display the, okay. Then another example is 11. So same with CSS. Actually, it's just for a font. If you want to have a good font, if you want to have a cell padding, additional cell padding, text alignment, no? Better for us to use the that my form under the cascading style. Okay? So by this time, we just try to see the output of this Web 11. So as you can see here, it's much more wider than the previous one. Different text, text or font style. Okay, much wider as I mentioned. Another one, for example, is the Web 12. So as you can see here, so if you want to have some inquiry in your website, so for example, for membership, then the inquiry, how much the membership fee? Because sometimes in your own website, no, you indicated some form for inquiry, then submit. So we don't have database yet, okay? Then for Web 13 form, so of course in a Microsoft, in different social networking site, or even in Gmail, Yahoo, and any other website, you are required to create your email and password. So if you want to see the code, okay, so this one. Actually, this will be the code. So method, get, as I mentioned, if we ask for an input, use get. Okay. Then the audio only, email, username, then replace, then take note the placeholder, then audio only as a class, then password, then form. So if we want to see the output, okay. So for example, docmelo888 at gmail.com. Sample password is 123456789 0. Then remember me as uh, always, for example, in your Twitter account, YouTube account, in your Facebook account, there are certain options that the browser remember your username and password, then log in. Of course, it is not advisable, especially if you are using your phone. Because if your phone get with somebody or open with someone, so your file or your email or even your social media is not secured. Okay, so log in. So since we don't have a database, so therefore we're not able to see the, but later on. Okay, then the last one, so wait for a while we are waiting with the output. Still opening. Okay, as you can see here, so username, for example, Marmilo, for example, password. So there are certain cases that if you created a password, there are certain text, no, displayed, or pop-up menu displayed, or there are certain reminders, no, that your password must be a combination of characters, uppercase and lowercase, alphanumeric, special characters, okay? Then phone number, so for example, and others, okay? And that's it for today. I hope that you are now ready to okay, wait for a while. I just want to add more. So because maybe you are also asking about the hidden farm control. Okay, I just want to give you a sample of hidden farm control. Wait for a while. Okay, so for the meantime, the hidden firm controls are used to hide data inside the page, which later can be pushed to the server. See, this control hides inside the code and does not appear on the actual page. So wait for a while. So for example, as an additional, as I mentioned, so assuming that we are now using a, okay, sa hidden form, no? So if we wanted to have this one, so save, then if we're going to run, Okay, this will be the output. So we have submit and you are allowed to reset. Okay, submit and reset. Okay, another example, of course, is the button controls. No? So as I mentioned earlier, there are various ways in HTML to create clickable buttons. So you can also create a clickable button using input tag by setting its type attribute to button. So the type attribute can take the following values: submit, reset, button, and image. So file save as, this time 16.htm. So if we want to display the output, so this will be the output. Okay, submit, reset. There's another way around to upload the file. So file save as. If there are certain cases that we uploaded a file, your professor required you to submit a file or to upload your file. So okay, so choose file, then you are allowed to upload a file. So for example, this one, then open. So as you can see here, week 4 XML is uploaded. This will be an example of uploading a file. So input type, file name, then file upload, accept is equal then this one. If you wanted to upload your file. Okay, what else? Okay, wait for a while. I just want to. Okay, so I just want also to show you some example of a form. So, for example, if you want to as what we have here, no? So if you want to, so if you want to create or to sign up, no, for a Facebook account, so as you can see here, you are required to input your name, last name, mobile number or email, then your password. So of course, for the date, so as you can see here, you are allowed to do this, no? Instead of displaying the entire date, so your episode for March, for example, then the date, day 1 to 31, then the year. Okay? That is also another way on how we'll be able to use different attributes in our HTML forms. So again, before I forget, we need always to consider different text input control. So again, what are those? We have a single line text input controls, of course, and others. Okay, so again, don't forget the HTML form controls, the different form controls that you can use to collect data using HTML form, text input controls, checkbox controls, review box controls, select box controls, file select boxes, hidden controls, clickable buttons, and submit and reset button. So good luck and see you on our next topic, JavaScripting.